the way government raises almost all revenue. I mean, I reject the whole system of like taxation at the threat of violence. I think it's like primitive and barbaric, and when human beings look back on that, it's going to be the way we look back at like slavery or arranged marriage or whatever it is. That the idea that the way we fund our organization, you know, like let's say there are these services that are necessary. So the way we fund that is we go, you have to pay a portion of your income or we'll fucking throw you in jail.
Yeah, we'll put you in a cage.
Lock you in a cage, like an animal. This is like, that's the biggest thing when I'm arguing now with people about like libertarianism versus other, you know, ways that we should organize society. That's my biggest thing that I harp on is just like, okay, who should we throw in a cage? Who is it morally acceptable to throw into a cage forcefully? Like send men with guns to get them and throw them into a cage. Like I'll grant you a murderer, a rapist, someone who assaults somebody. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we go into like theft.
Yeah, theft.
Things like that, because that is a violation of, you know, you own yourself and then you own your possessions.
Sure.
So that's a violation. But are you really okay if someone's like, oh, I don't want to fund that program? I won't send my money in to fund the war because I don't believe in the war. So now we can throw that guy in a cage.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to fund a look. Even if you have a really noble charity, why should you be able to threaten violence against someone to get them to fund it?
Well, that's where I like Gary Johnson. Gary Johnson steps in and says, we don't need the IRS. It's like, listen, we don't need, that's not how we have to make money. We just put taxes on consumption.
I like Gary Johnson. I wish he would be a little more Ron Paul. But
in what way?
I just feel like Gary Johnson has this way of selling the libertarianism as this kind of like, well, you know, it's more practical if we do it the libertarian way.
Huh.
Whereas I like, you know, when he's asked about the wars, he'll say things like, he goes, I think if you look on average, these military interventions have hurt more than they have helped.
That is exactly how he sounds. That's a really good impression.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of him. Well, so my...
Yep. Taxation is extortion, and when the system finally collapses, which such a violent, unnatural system can't possibly last forever, it'll be looked down upon the same way as we view slavery or inquisitions as horrible. The current big government stadia system of heavily armed thugs kidnapping and caging people who don't comply with the edicts of the state or don't pay their taxes is just as bad as the churches of the medieval period used violence to spread their beliefs and force everyone to convert to that given religion or sect. And slavery, when some people were treated as possessions.
By the way, that's not necessarily incorrect. It's just like, who would talk about mass murder that way? I mean, it's like talking about slavery, and you're like, well, I just think overall this is an inefficient way to get cotton. And you're like, Jesus, dude, like, and you're head abolitionist? Really? You're supposed to represent the abolitionist movement
right.
with that that attitude.
So he's like a moderate radical.
Yeah, he's just a you know, slavery is horribly immoral. Let me first convince you it's inefficient and ineffective. And then he went right to like, this is wrong. This is wrong. We're killing people in countries around the world. Like, this is morally horrible. And he got a movement going when he was in those debates. You know, Gary Johnson was in one of the major debates in 2012. Do you remember anything from his performance? Because nobody ever does.
No.
Nobody ever does. Because he'll go in there and say things like, in New Mexico, I was able to balance the budget with cutting 7%. Like, you have the greatest political philosophy ever devised by man behind you. Libertarian. You have the answer to all this shit. You're the abolitionist in slavery times. And like,
So you really feel libertarianism is the answer to everything?
Well, no. It's not in the same way that abolition isn't the answer to everything during slavery. It's the first moral step to then we can live in a...
What about libertarianism is so attractive to you?
I mean, I think it's philosophically sound, and it's basically just, to me, it's a humble understanding of what existence is, and that we don't really know what this is. Man's kind of born into the world naked, and we're here with nature, and we're all trying to figure it out, and that, morally speaking, we should all own our own lives, and therefore own your own body, and basically it all centers around property rights and the non-aggression principle, which is just the idea that you should never initiate violence against a non-violent person. And then you just draw conclusions from that.
Well, those are all really standard